What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin, John.
And we have an album review for you. So another one that came out that we definitely had our eyes on was the latest offering from Father Befouled. Crowned in Veneficum. I think that's how you say that. I'm not entirely sure. I probably got it wrong.
We don't do well with words.
Nope. This also comes out on the 25th of March on Everlasting Spew Records. It's been formed in 2006 in Atlanta, Georgia. This is their 5th album, and this is some incantation worshipping, evil, blasphemous death metal. And man, I am gonna struggle not saying incantation a bunch on this.
You could easily say it just, 100 times throughout this interview and it would be
accurate. This sounds like incantation. But honestly, all of their albums sound like incantation. This band is very, very transparent in their worship of this band, and I mean, you're worshiping a hell of a band. But I mean, it's to the point where if incantation worship was a college course that you could major in, these guys would have got a scholarship because they sound so much like incantation.
And a master's degree.
Yeah, no, probably. Fuck it, go back for a doctorate. They're that much like incantation. Immediately on the opener, Unheavenly Catechesis, which we did have to look up that word in terms of how to pronounce it. That'll be edited out, at least that part. But yeah, it sounds like an incantation song that actually started 10 seconds later because it just erupts. And right away, the production, it kind of sounds like Mortal Throne and Nazarene. Like, it has that sort of gritty, dirty sound to the guitars. Everything is very muddy and evil sounding.
But it's immediate. There's no leeway, there's no intro, there's no noise, there's just BAM song.
Right into blast beats, atonal tremolo riffs. And of course, because it's incantation worship, that means that'll last for a little bit and then it'll take an abrupt shift into Death Doom territory, which it does and does very well. Mm-hmm. In fact, the tremolo melody on top of that Death Doom break, it's everything on here is really just atonal and ugly, and that's why I say Mortal Throne of Nazarene, because it really just sounds like that, or Upon the Throne of the Apocalypse, depending on which track listing and mix you like better. Fair. It sounds filthy. This pretty much checks off, again, like all things incantation. The album art looks very incantation.
I do like the album art.
It is slick.
Yep.
The song titles are all very incantation in terms of the sort of blasphemous nature, but it's sort of cryptic and kind of vague, but you immediately know it's evil as hell. I don't even know what catechesis is, but it doesn't sound pleasant at all. And then there are some songs that don't really hide it. Euphoria of Accepted Suffering. That sounds horrible too. Why would you accept that? But it kind of has, again, that vibe. And when it comes down to production, again, it's that vibe once again. Except for one thing that kind of stood out to us kind of immediately. Man, you guys buried the vocals, didn't you?
Yep, buried. Like, I had to really kind of, is there a growl or is that a bass? Or is that the guitar? I don't know. They're almost non-existent.
At times, they just completely disappear. And I get, his delivery is very low and gurgled, again, kind of like John McKenzie. But, it's where they sit in the mix, because those guitars are powerful, and that tone is flat out disgusting. Like, these guitars sound like they're caked in slime and mud and dirt and grit. Yeah. And they're heavier than hell, but they drown out the vocals on here. And that's the only real issue I have with the mix. They're going for an incantation sound. They nailed it. It's just the vocals need to come up. The only part I heard clearly in that first track was this brief spoken word bit, that's kind of in the Death Doom breakdown. And I even had to question, was that actually a spoken word or was that an incantation? I know. God, I'm going to be referencing that band a lot here.
It's going to be like my fucking end of year list with dissonance, except this time it's incantation.
Chug.
And there's chug all over this album. It's just buried in filth.
Yeah, but again, that's sort of the idea. I mean, if you want your band to sound like incantation, there has to be filth. If there's no filth, then Is it really incantation?
No. Incantation.
We're still gonna say it more. you overloaded now.
Now there are a couple songs on this track listing that don't necessarily sound like straight incantation worship. Like with Miasmas of Sodom, where would these songs be without filthy melodic tremolo?
Melodic.
But in this song, it does sound a little bit different, as it's more focused on an actual, like, structured song. You get towards, like, the back half of this song, and there's even, like, a little harmonic kind of tremolo melody thing that doesn't appear often, but it stands as, like, a hook that makes the song kind of stand out from the others.
A lot of this, I mean, when it comes down to the Death Doom breakdowns, it is kind of those single note chugs, but like a tritone, so of course it sounds evil as fuck. Lots of apocalyptic riffing where it's just batshit insanity on the fucking fretboard and just playing really fast. And the occasional like chuggy melody with a even more disturbing melody on top of it to harmonize. Harmonies, that doesn't even feel like the right word for this style of death metal because it's just so evil sounding and everything is just dissonant and ugly. But occasionally, some of these riffs kind of sound less like incantation, or at least they just moved outside of the cavern where incantation records all their music, and they just like, ooh, look, there's other riffs out here.
Yeah, and on those songs like Catabatic Deliverance, I think that's how you say it, I'm not sure. Even the mix changes a little bit more. Like you can hear, it's not just a grimy, filth-covered riff. It's actually a little, it's crisper.
Yeah.
And you can even hear the vocals a little bit more, and the drums aren't as cavernous. The song's still gross.
Oh, it's fucking
beyond
filthy.
Gross, but there are memorable moments.
Yeah, there's repeated riffs in there that aren't necessarily like just atonal. Like, of course, they still have a little pinch harmonic because incantation. But they have like a distinct hook on them, and it doesn't sound necessarily like incantation, just sounds like a band that likes incantation and wants to infuse it in their overall sound, because these songs just sound like good death metal.
Yep, it sounds more like Father Befouled.
Yeah, which sounds like incantation.
Which sounds like incantation, but it doesn't sound like incantation performed by Father Befouled.
And I gotta say, that kind of carries on in Enlightenment of Torture too, except in a different manner. Faster than hell. Like, this is one of those that is just blast beat forward, but the tremolo riffs are actually, again, like a cool pattern, a pattern that generates a hook. It isn't just chaotic as hell, and they actually have some really cool chuggy moments in there too.
Yes to the chug groove.
Love
Good.
it. It's a solid standout hook that, again, doesn't necessarily sound like incantation, which I know we've said that band's name a lot. I'm not putting up a graphic every time I say it.
It's starting to sound weird.
And I guess a complaint on here too, and sounding like incantation isn't necessarily a complaint, because if you know this channel and watched our incantation ranking and watched any time we brought up anything cavernous, death metal, we love incantation. They fucking rule. But a complaint on here is a lot of these songs just fucking start. They just fucking go, and it's not like a great lead-in as far as, like, you know, getting the song going. Like, there's not a lot of tension building. It just, here's all the fucking tension. It's right there, and boom, it's gone.
And with the exception of a couple songs, I mean, there's only, 9 songs on here? With the exception of a couple songs, a lot of the songs sound the same. And for the fact that there's no lead-in and there's no, like, separation point for any of these, you could have told me that it was just one long track until it got to the couple, riffy ones.
The track breaks aren't very distinct, but there are some that do start off a bit differently. And honestly, I appreciated that more because, again, you have a clear track break, but you also have something a little bit more moody. The instrumental, His Throne Decayed, is just this dark, moody piece. Now, granted, it kind of sounds like just an incomplete section, because it has this cool lead-in. It's long, it's drawn out, the guitars are extra muffled in the beginning, and you get these big, pronounced floor tom hits, and it sounds evil as fuck. And it goes right into a cool tremolo groove, but then it just kind of ends.
Yep.
Kind of feels like a half idea, but I liked that half of the idea because it opened up differently.
Yeah, I liked where that idea was going.
And honestly, I think that idea came to fruition on the last track, Utter Abomination, which is the slowest, doomiest bastard on this album. Holy shit, There is so much doom in this song.
The sun faded away as I was covered in molten tar.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like fucking Satan emerging from the biggest pit of fucking quicksand ever. It's really solid, and it has a great lead in. There is a legit build up to it. And it builds up to stuff that, granted, you've heard on here, blast beats, apocalyptic riffing, but the fact that there's that cool little segue to kind of build the tension and everything.
And it's a good like 2 minutes of that tension building before the actual song kicks in, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, that is something I would like to see explored more because, I mean, granted, this is heavier than fuck. Like, holy shit, this is heavy.
Yep.
But, again, it stays so fucking
close
rooted.
to the book.
And that's always been kind of a gripe I have against this band. But, again, it's not even a really big gripe because, again, I like Incantation. It's just, this sounds so much like them that if you played this for me, I would assume it was Incantation.
Right, if I would have showed up here and this was already going, I would go, this sounds like Mortal Throne, but I don't think this is a song in Mortal Throne. Interesting.
The riff is slightly different. Not that much different.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's, again, kind of a knock, but also kind of a compliment because you did it that fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, overall, I'm going to give this 3 stars. I like it. It's enjoyable, mostly because I enjoy Incantation, but I also enjoy Father Befouled. It just needs some more to break it up. Like, there are moments on here where they do break it up. It actually sounds like, again, a band that's influenced by Incantation, but actually has, like, elements they're pulling from other camps. The rest of the time, this sounds like Incantation. You know, again, not really a knock, but, man, it's so damn close, it's almost indistinguishable. And, you know, there's that saying that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, but at a certain point, I just kind of wanted to hear something more outside the box. And when I got it, it was great. But, you know, the rest of the time, I mean, it's a good album. It just sounds too much like the main source. But I still urge you guys to check it out. Check out all their stuff. And if you love Incantation, you will love this band. There really is no question about that.
No. I'm going to go with the same here, a 3. It's good. I mean, Again, I'm going to try to do this without saying the I word a bunch, but I mean, what do you want? It is what it is. And it, you know, I'm a giant Incantation fan. We've said this before. If you've watched any of our videos, you know that by now, that we're both kind of sluts for that band. And rightfully so. It's a great band. But this is Father Befouled, and there should be some separation between the two. You know, keep up with songs like Enlightenment of Torture or Catabatic Deliverance. Make it sound like your own.
Yeah.
Instead of staying so heavily to the book. And again, that's not really a gripe because I am a fan of this music. It was definitely a great listen. It just sounded like something I'd heard before already years ago. And that's again one of my gripes about Father Befouled is I've heard it before.
I own all their albums, and they're all good. It's just,
right. They're all good, but it just plays really, really, really close to the book.
Yeah.
And you know, I want to hear you. I want to hear the band, not the band I've already heard.
I mean, it's a knock and a compliment at the same time.
It is.
So yeah, this is just awkward, but it's still good. It's still just badass cavernous death metal. It's
right. If you like badass, cavernous, dark, doomy, grimy death metal,
like Incantation, I said it.
If you like that, then you're gonna love this, and I strongly recommend you go check out their shit.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there'll be a link down below. And if you would like a t-shirt, hit us up on thrallsofmetal.com. Also a link down below for that. You can put an order there, and Miller will get you all fucking settled there.
I think he shipped one this morning.
Oh, well, good deal.
Yeah.
And, well, Larry, you still haven't gotten a hold of us as far as I know. Larry,
fine. Look, do something fine for yourself and get a hold of us.
Either that, or we got to do this giveaway again and pick out a new person. I don't want to have to do that, but your time is running out, bud. So
the balls are to the bandsaw.
That's a horrible analogy. I always hated that one.
I always did too, but that's where we're at.
Why would you put your balls there anyway? Don't do that
Poor
to your
balls.
balls. You want a cleft ball sack?
Oh no. No, you don't. You don't want that. Dude, I can't even.
Yeah, I know. That's fucking horrible. Anyway, we're going to conclude this little PSA about balls and bandsaws, and pretty much just thank the living fuck out of you guys once again for watching,
Indeed.
subscribing.
We appreciate it. This is a great time.
Absolutely. And we look forward to bringing more reviews. We hope you enjoy the fuck out of the Carcass ranking, which is coming soon. And yeah, we got tons more coming your way. So yeah.
Woo!
With that, we will catch you later.